Michelle Herrera Mulligan, and I am from Chicago, Illinois. My mother was born in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, and my father was born in the United States but was raised in Trinidad. And so his father was Irish American. So I use both my parents' names because in the Spanish culture, you use your mother and your father's name. So today I work as a senior editor at Atria Books, which is part of Simon and Schuster, a major publishing company. And today I publish many books of fiction and nonfiction. But I got this job because previously in my career, I worked as a journalist and I also wrote books. I did both. And I got a position as an editor in chief of a magazine called Cosmo for Latinas. It was a magazine from a major brand, Cosmopolitan, that also created a special edition for American women of Hispanic descent. And in the process of creating that magazine, which was a new voice, I was channeling, speaking to many new perspectives, children of immigrants as well. So, because of this experience and my knowledge of English and Spanish, I was asked when a job came up at a book publisher. They asked if I would be interested in editing. They felt that because of my wide-ranging experiences as a journalist, and in particular, because of my experiences in bringing underrepresented voices into the mainstream media, into the conversation, that I might be a good fit for this job. So, the most exciting job I ever did when I was a journalist, I think was, well, I've had so many wonderful experiences. I think it was really the most fun for me to create my own magazine. One thing that you're tasked with when you're a journalist is that you're telling the story of what's happening in a given time. And I always felt that the story that was being told in the media about immigration, about life as a person of color, was very limited. They didn't ask the questions of the communities that I grew up in. So for me, it was really exciting not just to tell different stories, to tell those stories from a different point of view, from a different perspective. That's still the most exciting thing to me. So when I did get the job at Cosmopolitan for Latinas, that was definitely my most exciting role because I had the control. I could portray women all different types from different backgrounds, and I could use fashion by designers that came from many different countries, and I got to narrate the story as I'd always hoped and wished to see. The most difficult thing about being a child of immigrant parents and having a different culture at home is that the I live in America. The American culture is very fast paced. It's very work and status driven. You are judged frequently by the level of work that and the quality of work that you produce. It's also very, very competitive. And to explain that to parents who maybe wish that you would pursue as a woman anyway a more traditional path to be a, a mother, to create a family, when you have a different value system because you were raised in a different country and you value your career or your profession and how much time that takes, sometimes it means that you're not available for the things that your family values. So you can seem in a disconnect from your family. So I think that sometimes explaining to your family, staying connected and bringing them into your world can be very challenging. I think The best thing about being from a different culture is the richness of knowledge and of art and history and literature that you have. For me to grow up speaking, and hearing Spanish, it opened up a whole new world and meant that I could read Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Cervantes in their original language. And that's just such a beautiful gift to me. I to learn about other food and other cultures, it created something in me that's lasted my whole life, which is a passion for knowing the world. I think it is both more challenging for women to find success as an immigrant or child of immigrants, and there's opportunity. I think it's both. The challenge comes in trying to navigate the responsibilities of family, of caring for your parents, caring for your own children, finding someone, a partner, a romantic or friend, partner or friends who understand you fully and appreciate you, and also doing so many jobs. I think as women, all women have so many jobs. We have domestic jobs, we have emotional jobs, and then we have our actual professions. And that can be very challenging to balance those things and to find opportunity. Sometimes as a woman can be difficult. However, I think that the great opportunity in being a woman is an immigrant woman or a child of immigrants, a woman who is a child of immigrants. I think there's an incredible opportunity in the knowledge that you have. You learn so much about life from many different perspectives, from your family stories to all the people you care for, and you can bring that knowledge into everything that you do. That knowledge is very valuable, and it gives you an edge because you have an understanding that maybe somebody else in your workplace in your new country doesn't have. I High school, Michelle became a journalist very early on. I was 14 years old, a freshman in high school. And it's kind of funny now because people would laugh that know me because it's very the same person that I am today. I was when I was very young. I felt that I saw a lot of injustice happening in my school. I went to a school that had many wealthy children, and I came from a low income home. So I took a bus to get to that school. So on the bus and in the school, I saw a lot of inequities, things that I didn't think were fair. I didn't think it was fair the way that it was assumed that everybody was wealthy there. I didn't think it was fair that that a lot of the children that were gay or lesbian weren't able to be honest about who they were. I saw a lot of things that I thought were unfair. I think there was even the first thing, because I was very young, that I got very angry about was where the women's bathroom was. For freshmen, you had to go. You were kind of pushed into a certain area of the school to go, and I can remember thinking that it was very dirty and that it wasn't fair that we had to go there. So I wrote a column for my student newspaper. I had You weren't allowed to take a class in journalism formally in my high school until you were a senior. But I was very vocal with my English teacher, and she pushed for me to be able to take the class early. So they allowed me into the class, and right away I started to write articles. I wrote that article about the bathroom. It was very controversial. Teachers were very upset, and so were the other students. But I learned early on that when you tell the truth, there are a lot of consequences, and I've been causing trouble ever since. The advice that I would give to a young immigrant or anyone new to this country, or especially somebody who feels like an outsider, like that they don't know the rules of the game, they don't know how to start expressing themselves, is to express yourself any way that you can. Start in a way that feels authentic, natural, and that has integrity for you. Whether maybe you love Instagram, I don't know. I mean, everybody has a type of media they like to consume. If maybe you're a reader, um, maybe you love TikTok or you love Facebook, whatever your preferred mode of communication is, use it to express yourself, to tell the truth about your day to day life. You would, the most shocking thing and beautiful thing that I've learned as a storyteller over the last over 30 years of my career is that you never know who's listening. You never know who could be read your stories and who could be ready to bring you on, to bring your voice to a bigger audience. So never give up, always tell your stories. Um, will always be curious and investigate further. Always get the other side and tell a fuller story. Never accept the story you've been given. The news will, even the news that is friendly to you, will never fully tell your side of the story and your perspective. So only you can do that. I have so many examples in my own life, but for example, when I was first a journalist, there was no social media or even internet widely used at that time. And I remember when I was in the fifth grade, I used to do a zine, a little magazine with my best friend, and we just shared it with our friends. But it was remarkable how often that would get to my teachers. Fortunately, I wasn't saying anything bad about them, but they would, because my teachers read it, they would give me new opportunities to express myself. So, one of my favorite stories isn't my story. There's a journalist that I respect very much who, for many years, has been telling the stories of immigrants in New York City. And she wrote a story in a local, I think it was a Queens newspaper, about the abuse that she observed in nail salons. And, the story was very comprehensive and she wrote about it again and again and again until finally the New York Times read her story and they ended up doing a big investigation of their own that changed the culture of nail salons in the city. So now abuses are not as rampant and there are consequences because of the story that this journalist told. So again, my advice is always tell your story, and there's never any publication that is too small to publish in.